This is Remote Ruby.
Have you any remote idea to the meaning of the word?
What's up?
Hey,
Just the two of us.
dude, it's going to be an awkward podcast because I don't know if everyone's known this, but today Jason fired me. So, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. How is your first week at old pony?
I'm going to say something sincere, okay? You ready?
Okay,
I like
I'm
to
ready.
prepare you. I am so far really enjoying it, and I am becoming more and more excited about working closer with you and Andrea, and I got to meet the whole team this week, and everyone was freaking awesome. And Jess told me exactly what I need to do to adopt a dog, and that was awesome because that's what I'm
Perfect.
doing this weekend. And I don't know, I'm very happy right now. Although at this exact moment, I'm very tired.
I'm very happy to hear that. I've been sad that I haven't gotten more chances to hang out with you this week.
I've heard rumors that we will be hanging out more soon.
Okay, so you heard about that.
I hear rumors.
All right.
No.
All right.
You know me. I'm from the South, dude. I'm a nosy person.
Trust me, I grew up with rumors. Gossip Girl.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I saw it on my weekly updates at work. XOXO
I've seen-
Gossip Girl.
I've seen Gossip Girl. My ex-girlfriend made me watch it. It actually wasn't that bad.
Same.
I actually kind of enjoyed it. I got into it, but I get into everything, but I got invested.
Lucky for everyone listening today, Chris is not here. So you get to listen to Andrew and I talk about a range of topics that we requested on Twitter. And I say lucky for you because what better thing for two people with ADHD to do than to talk about 15 different topics in
Yes.
40 minutes?
And honestly, like the idea of it was becoming more and more exciting as the day wore on.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that we're Slack buddies, I'm
Hey.
excited to say, what's up? Let's record. I'm excited. So earlier this week, I tweeted and said, what do you want Andrew and I to talk about? And my plan is to talk about every single thing that was sent to us, whether we know anything about it or we're going to sound like morons. I'm here for it.
Well, I will be sounding like a moron. You at least will say it tactfully. Well, let's go.
All right. So let's start off. We're going to bounce around a little bit. The first tweet that I have here is from Dean, and it says the Hamel ?
Here, I'll take this one. You should use the right tool for the job, regardless of your opinion on the situation. If you're at a shop and your whole team is benefited by using Hamel because of specific reasons, then use Hamel. But if you're using Hamel right now and you're like, oh, I'm having all these issues for whatever reason. I know people don't like using Tailwind with it, but I don't get why, but whatever. If that's the thing, then it sounds like you have a problem and maybe the greater good would be served by not having a flame war. So at the end of the day, I love Hamel, but like I've been writing a lot of ERB, and at the end of the day, I'll write whatever works best for my team, and you should too.
I responded and said we'd do a live reading. So I've pulled up a Hamel file.
Oh, thank God. Let's do
we'll
it.
do a live reading of this.
I
Not the whole
envision us
thing.
reading the source file, like from the compiled source, obviously, but
Nope. No, we're going to read it the way it was intended.
all right, let me close my eyes and get in the moment here. All right.
If we could have some really calming music.
Hey, Siri, dim the lights.
Okay, Andrew, dimming lights and turning on music.
All right. Dash content for space symbol head do equal JavaScript include tag https ajax.googleapis.com/ajax/lib/1.626/webfont.js.
Oh my God.
I'll do one more.
Okay, please. I was
We got
going to
it.
ask. So I learned a lot about Podia this week, and I learned that you could sell a course right now or a community, maybe a digital download of you live reading Hamel. And I could potentially listen to that while I go to sleep. So let's keep going.
I'm not even going to sell it. I'm just going to put a 8-hour thing on YouTube.
Hey,
Percentage div open parens ID equals open string page dash sections in string space data dash controller equal string, data page preview, space, editor dash dash draft dash page, in string, in parens.
I got chills.
Dude, same. So I got chills.
Dude.
Just my own reading.
I've been to a lot of movies recently, and none of them compare like to the like thrill that I like. My heart rate's going up. I can feel it.
That was Hamill.
Thank you.
How to cope with the feeling of Rails moving too fast. Still on 4.2 here, and my feature list is huge. Dreaming of Edge. Is it utopia? ?
It's trade-offs, but I'm curious more of your answer to this because like I've only worked on a Rails 4 app for a period of 2 or 3 months, and I hated it. But that doesn't seem like a problem. When I read this question, I was like, I don't think Rails is moving too fast. I think it's moving at a very nice pace. Like I've been doing Rails for almost 4 years now, and we're only 2 versions different from when I started. And I came in like 5.2. So I don't think Rails is moving that fast.
Yeah, Rails doesn't necessarily move fast. It can feel like it though when you are in an older framework version, because maybe going from 4.2 to 5 looks like a big mountain, right? It looks like it's going to be hard to climb. And then it's like, oh no, 6 came out and I'm not even on 5. And then it feels like another taller mountain. And then now we're on 7. So I definitely empathize with the feeling.
I empathize for sure.
It's not necessarily utopia. It does have advantages, in my opinion. That is, at least like we're still on 6 at Podia, right? And we're trying to get to 7. But like 6 is pretty widely supported for languages, newer Ruby versions, things like that. And that's the only thing I guess feels like utopia to me, is being able to keep up. Like when a new version of Ruby comes out, it's probably a little bit easier to adopt it than maybe on an older version of Rails, things like that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's harder to adopt certain gems. Maybe they stop supporting older features in Rails.
I mean, I always wonder, like, when I either arrive at or hear about these situations, I'm always like, so what happened, right? Because there's been like a long time since Rails 4.2 came out. And from my experience, these are usually apps that can't evolve past 4.2 really didn't get a good upgrade out of 3. And because they got a crappy update out of 3, there's still a lot of that Rails 3 stuff kind of hanging around, maybe deprecated, but still running. And it's those issues that they can't change. There was like a massive change to the controller params in that time, right?
Yeah. Well, there was in 3 to 4. That's when we got strong parameters. So before
right, but it wasn't.
just...
But 5, you could still use the old version until 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's a big reason for a lot of teams.
I think it's just deprecated. Yeah. Because before it was, it was like actually defining what was writable on the model and then just passing the params in.
I've never even seen it. I don't even know what it looks like. You're speaking French to me.
I want to say it was maybe just even adder accessors, but I don't even remember. It's been a hot minute. So yeah, how to cope with it, I guess, would be
do stuff on the side for fun. That's what I did when I was doing that.
Yeah, spin up Rails new and even do like on the Edge version of Rails to really check it out. I mean, there's definitely niceties that come with the framework. We want to adopt the adder encrypted stuff in Rails 7, but we can't yet. Maybe we could, but we'd like to really just upgrade and it just be there. So yeah, there's definitely niceties. But the cool thing is though, even in 4.2 of Rails, like Ruby is still fun to write and Rails is still fun to write. So there's still joy to be found, I think.
Here's my final thought is if you're that unhappy, I'm pretty sure a lot of places are hiring like experienced Rails engineers right now. So it could be like you're just seeing like grasping where it may not be. But if you like try to play with this stuff in your spare time and you're like, holy crap, this is so much more fun, then get a new job. Sorry, that's me.
This is our next one. Is it pronounced YAML? YAML. Andrea says, oh, I know. You could talk about Andrew's awesome buddy, Andrea.
Yes. Andrea has helped me a lot this week and has been very kind and helpful and encouraging and is checking on me and is explaining things in great detail. And I'm very appreciative of the work that she's doing to help support me. But yes, we homies now for real on that DM grind, you know?
Andrea is, I assume, your assigned work buddy.
Yes, she's my buddy.
So at Podia, when someone onboards, we assign a buddy that is just there to answer questions, help along the way. Andrea is my unofficial Podia buddy because she has already helped me tremendously this week, reverting a deploy last night that I screwed up.
I think the key word there was night, but let's just move past that. I will pause and say that I have been incredibly freaking blown away by this onboarding process. Shook to my absolute core. And I'm about to start calling out names now. Like, this is ridiculous.
Go.
People have been saying, like, you can't do this stuff. Oh, no, you can't document. We can't have, like, great onboarding documents. We can't, like, actually care about this stuff. No, it's possible. I just saw it. It's completely possible. And I don't know. Y'all have done an incredible job, and it's clear that y'all care about important things. And the more and more I discover, the more and more happy I am to be here. So kudos to y'all.
Shout out Jamie.
Shout out Jamie.
Jamie told me today that he doesn't listen to the podcast because he doesn't listen to podcasts, and said for all he knows, I've just been trash talking to him. But little does he know I'm over here kudosing him.
Singing his praises. So far, I have felt very much supported by Jamie.
Shout out Jamie. Next one. Rails 8 ?
Cool. I don't know.
I don't know. It will come out one day.
It will come out probably in a year or two.
The Rails will come out tomorrow. Do you get that reference?
No.
It was a musical. Annie.
Okay, boomer.
The son. Yeah, that is some boomer-ish right there.
He just said a play, bro.
I said a musical.
Play.
So why don't you jot that down?
That means the same thing to me. So that's where I'm at in terms of culture, right? I went to the Nutcracker. I wasn't the kid you could bring to a freaking play.
I guess the question I'm walking away with today, is a musical a play? And I think the answer...
It's a play with singing.
But do all plays have singing?
No. So not every musical is a play, but every play is a musical. Because it's a story shown through interpretive dance and stuff.
Wouldn't that be the other way? Not every play is a musical, but every musical...
I don't know. I was just trying to undo an unless statement. Maybe.
Yeah, it was the standard in your brain. I imagine we would see Rails 7.1, maybe Rails 7.2, and then Rails 8. This Rails version was so jam-packed. The asset bundling was huge, and then the things like adder encrypted attribute. I don't know what they're called.
There's a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah. So I don't know where you go from there. And
I would like to see better work done around I think there's a big need for documentation, but I think Rails has been needing that for a while. And unfortunately, even though there are more people now that could and happily would contribute, I think there's a perceived barrier to contributing to the Rails docs that has been put in place. And that's why it's not happening. But I digress. I would like to see a little bit better documentation, especially around DHH's little midnight coding session on the ES build import map stuff. I would also like to see
midnight coding session.
I would like to see some more action cable stuff, because I feel like it's still, and I don't know if this is just browsers or what, but it seems like there's still some, issues there. And I would also like to see HAML on by default.
I agree with some of that.
I'd actually like to see them, I don't know, the import map stuff or the Rails, sunsetting Webpacker thing has not irked me, but just the way he did it, I think was poor, and it doesn't make sense. It makes sense from his perspective, but now we have Justin Gordon out there putting in hours to release it. This Webpacker 6 has been in beta for a year. And then as soon as they gave it to Justin Gordon, he fixed every issue. He's working on Rust compilation for TypeScript or something. And he wanted to change some of the wording in the README of Webpacker to make sure that people knew hey, Webpacker is not dead. Just this is the new version now. This is what we recommend you use. But DHH wouldn't merge it. He rejected at least 2 or 3 PRs. And I understand that from a liability perspective, you don't want to be oh yeah, this is what you should use. I'm sure there must be some sort of liability thing in there that he's worrying about. But at the same time, this guy's doing all this work and you're making it seem like switching over to it is sketchy. And I don't know. people I think are for a rude awakening when they actually try to upgrade their apps to this stuff. So I'm going to be interested to see kind of what happens as the community starts to get their hands on it.
It's interesting. I've missed most of that. You and I talked about Webpacker yesterday for a brief minute.
Yeah.
We have gone pretty heavy into Webpacker land. So whatever we do, it's not impossible, but it is a big undertaking however we move forward with assets.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Most people, if you're still using jQuery UI, like you're still going to have problems, bro. It's not like, oh, Webpack was the problem and that's why I couldn't, change to it. If you couldn't upgrade your app to Webpacker and you didn't understand how Webpacker worked at all, then you are not in a position to be upgrading to this new stuff anyway. So I don't know. That's why I feel like this is so much easier. Have you looked at the ES build config?
I have looked at an ES build config. I am team Parcel.
I still like Snowpack, and I've been interested in Vite. I've tried Parcel in the past too, which I think is just a great solution overall. Especially, they've done a lot of recent work, I think, haven't they? They released some new stuff.
Yeah, 2.0 just came out. It feels like the Rails convention over configuration.
Yeah, they already do some automatic stuff for you, right?
A lot. And
nice.
Kind of stuff like, I want to say it was maybe some like automatic import stuff.
They parse your HTML. They're the only ones that do it by default.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've set it up with JS bundling Rails, and I run the CLI. I don't have it point to the index. I run the CLI and point it to like app JavaScript index, like PAX basically. And it's fast, and like the auto import stuff, it's not auto importing, but like basically you can require a bunch of modules at one time. And that's like an opt-in thing, but all you have to do is add like one line and it automatically installs the packages and Yarn for you, stuff like that. So I don't know. It feels very, very good. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode.
I think you just solved a bug for me, by the way, but we'll talk about it later. I'm having like an epiphany over here. You can't see it, but there's light bulbs going on.
Julian said Sonic Pi, which led me to Google Sonic Pi, the future of music. It's a code-based music creation performance tool.
I think it looks sick, and I've already tried to make music. It's literally just like art. As much as I desperately want to like express myself, and as much as it is all in my head, it will not leave my body. And therefore I like now look at this stuff after having tried to done it before. I'm like, nah, no. I have the utmost respect for people who can do it. It's not me. So kudos to people doing this really cool crap with Ruby. So
I didn't know this was a thing. My background is in music and actually audio engineering, and this looks amazing. It's like a DSL would be the Ruby terminology for making music. This is cool. And now I'm going to mess with this one day. I'll probably never use it if I'm going to say one day, but it's interesting. Julian said Ruby, Erlang, and Super Collider all in one package, if I remember correctly. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Tabs or spaces?
Spaces. Next.
Spaces. I think Casper was mostly setting us up for that pun, which was this is going to really run up your tab.
Let me just say, when I saw that pun, I became angry because I was like, that pun is so good. And I just laughed. I saved that tweet, let's just say. It's sitting in my Obsidian vault right now, waiting for me to take it.
It's good. He sent me an Arrested Development pun the other day, and I was like, it warmed my heart. Harry, our coworker Harry, said we should talk about Alfred.
Yeah.
Do you use Alfred, or have you moved on to this new?
No. I'm a big Alfred user, and then I tried the other thing, Raycast. I mean, you know me, like I try all the tools, and I love new tools. And like, if anything, I'm always looking for an excuse to use new tools. And for maybe one of the first times in my entire life, I was like, I hate this. And I don't know what it was specifically about it. I don't know if it was the fact, part of me was like kind of miffed because they took away the ability to do like all this stuff in Ruby and instead I would have to write JavaScript. And I'm like, yeah, so here's the thing. I'm not doing that. Although it says you can use Ruby as a language, but I've heard that it basically doesn't exist. So I was pissed off about that. Not so pissed off that I wouldn't use it though. But then I was like, this literally doesn't do anything that Alfred can't do. I literally can do every one of these things in Alfred. And they raised like millions of dollars and they're not selling anything. And
Cool.
whenever a company that I'm typing in like some sensitive stuff in all day long has like telemetry in their terminal that you have to opt out of, that if you don't know about, then I don't know. They made a lot of money and they told those people something. So I don't know. All right, hold on. Wait.
Nope.
Not to say that they're doing anything like that. That's just me being paranoid. I realized that came off really harsh. I think what they've built is really cool. And I'm excited that there's people continuing to enter the Mac automation space, because if anything, I want that to increase. I just literally don't see any benefit to changing out of Alfred, especially because Alfred has more stuff.
Yeah, I don't even use 30% of what Alfred gives me. So when I got my new MacBook this year, I tried Raycast and I was like, Alfred's fine.
I mean, because if you're going to use Raycast, you could almost just use like freaking Spotlight with iOS shortcuts at that point.
That's actually what I tried using before installing Alfred. And there's one particular workflow that's so stupid, but it is just baked into my muscle memory that I can command space, VS space, and open a folder in VS Code. And I can make it work with shortcuts in Spotlight, but it's just so simple in Alfred.
Yeah. And it's so fast, because if you have to do it in a shortcut, you have to drop into another part of the system that has its own permissions and runtime and stuff. And shortcuts aren't necessarily very fast. So yeah.
Do you integrate your apps with third parties like Stripe, GitHub, Slack, or Trello? If you want quality webhooks, like Stripe's for example, that's more than just sending a JSON payload to your customer's URL and calling it a day, right? That's where Hook Relay comes in. Hook Relay is a service that makes sending and receiving webhooks reliable, secure, and transparent, automatically. Some may even say magically. Users are amazed at the visibility they've gained into their webhooks. Without Hook Relay, you have no idea how many requests you're processing. With Hook Relay, you can watch your traffic, inspect each request, and much more. It's like X-ray vision. If your app or your integration partners are being flaky, you'll love the peace of mind that comes with knowing that no matter what happens, Hook Relay will make sure that your webhooks are delivered. Skip days of grunt work rolling your own webhook system and get reliable webhooks for your app in minutes, not days. Go to hookrelay.dev to get started and check webhooks off your to-do list. That's hookrelay.dev, all one word.
Let's see here. Adrian said Avo HQ. I will give a shout out to Avo admin. It's open source, but they also have a paid version, admin for Rails. But said, I'm kidding. I would love to hear about cool OSS, open source software. I don't know what that second S is.
Where should I start? I guess it's...
I went
Where do you want to
cool
take it?
OSS communities you know about and what makes them cool.
That has suddenly narrowed down to a harder question. I think the Bridgetown community is pretty good. I always enjoy my time in there. I'm trying to think of a non-Ruby project that I really like. I don't know. I think like the Iraq team actually does a good job, especially like the amount that they've done on their documentation with Rachel Neighbors, I think how you say her name. I think that was really cool to watch. I think the Vue team, I think actually is really good too. I mean, I'm sure it's not always sunshine and roses, but from what I can tell, like it seems like a very excellent community, even though it's in the language. Yep.
I think the Laravel community is great, but we'll talk more about that at the end. Drew Bragg, our resident Oklahoma native, asked how much fun you both had recording code and the coding coders who code it as a topic we could talk about. And as of this recording date, I think those are the two episodes that have been released, are you and I.
Yes.
I had a blast.
I had so much fun. I think I ended up staying around for at least another hour, and Hay and I just talked.
I am so grateful to know Drew, and I'm glad he is one of our friends and is in our community.
Yeah, I had a blast, and you guys should all go listen to it, and we will link it below. But I will say about my recording, it's like a fever manic dream. So if you're not into that kind of thing, maybe just give Jason's a listen because it was good. But I was like on another level of like ADHD and just pure mania. So I did not shut up the entire time. I don't think I ever took a breath. But I had a lot of fun, and we got to talk about my favorite subject, ADHD. So I had a blast, and I'm excited that Drew has started another podcast. And I am excited to see when Brittany comes on it and she makes both of us just wither away.
Brittany is just a pro at everything.
And we're going to take a pause for our annual Brittany break.
Maybe we could just ask Paul right now to put in a clip from Ruby on Rails podcast of another shining Brittany moment.
Yeah, we want a shiner right here.
I'm a former boot camp instructor myself, and I had this student that was incredibly gifted at UI. She just had a really great eye for design, and she was a makeup artist. That is relevant.
That is 100% relevant.
All right. Moving into our next set of questions. Matt Swanson, 4 topics in 1 tweet. That is a pro Twitter move. 1 underrated gem each.
Oh my God. I'm going to say the dry gems. For some reason, that's the first thing that came to my mind, even though it wasn't the first thing I thought of when I started to think about this question. Because I was about to pull open my GitHub Ruby stars and just start combing through the list. Because I literally found some great stuff just last night. So, but I really like what the dry team has kind of done with those libraries. And I've used them on some side stuff for fun. And it was fun.
I am a big fan of those libraries. We've had both Peter and Tim on the podcast before, and I don't know. I think it's really cool. Both Peter and Tim have given excellent talks on writing functional style Ruby code, and it's really some thought-provoking stuff. And I know it's not necessarily the Rails way of doing things, but there's some pretty good stuff in there that I would encourage. Even if you think, oh, I'll never use that, check it out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, I don't know. I just imagine myself sitting next to a coworker and them being like, man, this dry stuff is cool. Man, I would never use this. Man, it's stupid. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, God, get over yourself. I feel like if anything, we should be applauding people using Ruby, not with Rails, because if anything's going to make Ruby continue to live longer and longer, it's going to be eventually breaking out from under Rails. It's not like that in other parts of the world, I've heard, but in the United States specifically, I'm speaking.
Yeah, I've heard, and anyone
Japan's got
correctly, yes,
satellites.
Japan, I'm under the impression that Rails is still a thing there, but it is more common that you're just finding Ruby.
Yeah, cool. I don't think Rails is very popular at all.
I just want to take that clip out of context, share it everywhere. I don't think Rails is very popular at all.
I've heard things.
My underrated gem would be the Faker gem. It is the gem I put in every project I use. It is for basically getting fake data, but it is a fun project that has a lot of fun fake data in it. Stuff like The Office, Arrested Development, New Girl, Back to the Future, all kinds of just fun data to work with. But on top of that, it's just solid. I use it a lot in FactoryBot for generating data in factories. I use it for seeding my database in development. I've even used certain times for filling in placeholder and text fields. It's good. I really like it. Matt also said Andrew's path to Podia.
I took the internet because I was going to say I took a car, but I didn't take a car. So yeah, I took the internet. That's how I did it. My path to Podia. You give it. You know it more than me.
I identified alongside Andrea that Andrew would be someone I think would be a good fit at Podia. And at RubyConf, we were recruiting as every other company at RubyConf and had some opportunities to have some conversations. And a month and a half later, you applied and went through the interview process and decided, hey, I think I'm going to do this. That's your path.
Yep. It was a hard decision because I didn't want to leave behind someone where I was, but I'm happy I made this decision. I mean, I made the best decision for me and my career. And you can't tell because I'm just exhausted because I didn't sleep very well last night, but I am overjoyed and thrilled and very happy, which is kind of crazy because I've only gotten more excited as this week has gone on and I'm just onboarding. So normally people would be pulling their hair out, but I've been having a blast, I guess, because I've never been onboarded before. I've learned, I don't know. It's just been so well done. And I don't know. Yeah, I was not looking, just for the record. I was chilling, as they say. But then Jason took me to get lobster and he took me to the Denver game. And, and when I tell the story, I tell people that you paid for it, but, it wasn't. Yeah. I told everyone like, oh yeah, well they took me out to get lobster. Denver game. Come on. I mean, at the end of the day, I had wanted to join Podia in the past, so it was already on my list of companies that I wanted to join anyway. And it just so happened that I got particularly frustrated by a certain occurrence after I returned home from RubyConf. Because when I returned home from RubyConf, I was like, I'm too lazy. But then I got kind of miffed, pissed off, angry, disappointed, frustrated, whatever. I went through all the grief stages. And I was like, I am going to apply. So yeah, that's kind of how it was. They wanted me there and I had already wanted to be there. And the real reason I joined was because like their team outside of just Jason and Andrea, I knew was really good. So I was like, this is an opportunity to join excellent team building a product that I like actually would use. And now that I've been exploring it all week, I don't understand why anyone would use anything different. So yeah, that's kind of it. They wanted me. They got me. Jason bought me lobster. That's what you need to tell everyone.
That's what I will tell everyone. I didn't even pay for my own meal that night. Jonathan paid for it.
Cool.
I feel like we're not going to have enough time to talk about Laravel. And I am thinking we should push it to a new episode. Going through our tweets, though, Matt had one about something Laravel related, but he asked what I'm talking about SimCity Ruby. And that is a wonderful question because
bringing me anxiety now. I don't even have anxiety.
I solidified it this week after talking to you.
Oh, well, good.
I'm giving a talk about simplicity, and it will not be a simple talk. Simplicity is a thing that is of a lot of interest to me, even outside of programming, making my life simpler, obviously making code simpler, making my thoughts simpler, but all of that is very interesting because a lot of things are very complex. And so I am trying to distill some of these thoughts into how it applies to writing code, specifically Ruby code, but hopefully a little more broad than that. And that is what my talk will be about.
Yeah, I will be there. So I will be excited to hear it.
One of these says JavaScript with Python 2. And I don't know what that means.
I read that and I just said, what the fuck? Because I don't know what that means. I don't know what that says, but good job. I don't know. Like, what does this mean? Are we being invaded?
There was a way to Opal. You could write JavaScript code with Ruby. I wonder if that's something similar in Python. But the Python 2 really threw me because in Python 3, like what everybody's moving to.
Yeah, the Opal thing. I learned about Opal pretty early on in my career. And even pretty early on in my career, I was like, why would you ever do this? Now, Jared has been working on something called Ruby 2JS. Now that I think is very cool. Opal, on the other hand, seemed very wrong to me. And I also know there was some issues in that community. So I wasn't even around for that. I've just heard that. So like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did a podcast with that person and had no idea, like when I was 21 and a baby and just afraid. But now I wish I knew because I would be like not having this call. But regardless of that, yeah, I don't know, just write. If there's a language optimized for doing like what you're trying to do and you're trying to like take another language and wrap it around that language just because you don't want to write, it sounds like you should stop bitching. And that's coming from someone who complains about JavaScript literally all day.
You were wound up today.
Yeah, I'm on another one, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, that wasn't the question. It was just like, I don't understand why you would do that. I guess. I don't know. It's just you have a language that's supposed to do that, but you're trying to wrap it with Ruby, which I don't understand why. And you also don't give me the benefits of the JavaScript ecosystem, which is actually like, it is good in terms of there is a ton of stuff that you can utilize, which some people say that's the bad part of it, which can be, but still, I just don't know why you would drop out of a tool with tons and tons of support into like a DSL, a Ruby DSL around JavaScript. I don't know. It's just me.
Another one of the tweets was from Joe asking about, I'd love to hear why Laravel is so great. I am going to do...
He doesn't know. He's never written it.
Bet. And we're just having Twitter conversations again. I don't have professional experience, but I have an obsession with it. And I'm going to do the most preparation I've ever done for Remote Ruby and prepare a whole episode on it.
Well, I'll just clarify that I've been joking. Jason has written Laravel before. I have not ever written Laravel. So that was my defense mechanism. I felt like I was being attacked. But you've actually like almost got me like wanting to run the generators just to see what they do. So I don't know what that says about me, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily, it's not exciting to me necessarily, but I'm happy that they're able to make such a great accomplishment and they've got tons of great features. I was reading through the feature list. Some of them seem very akin to what we got in Rails. So, I mean, congrats for them and for their users. So maybe I'll check it out. But I'm not writing PHP professionally. So that's kind of where I stand.
Well, once we record our in-depth episode, my goal...
Write our Ruby DSL around PHP.
We just went on a whole thing about that. My goal by the end of that episode is to make you a convert.
Yeah, I'm like very interested. So yeah, please do. Maybe I will prep for it as well in rare form.
Jim Jones said the intersection of Rails and Web3. And I'm just going to be honest. I don't know hardly anything about Web3, except that it came after Web 1 and Web 2, and it will precede Web 4.
I'm so glad you stuck with that joke because the landing was good. I loved it. I worked at a Web3 company, and I still don't fully understand it, which even though I've read books on it, I've tried to understand it. I just don't. What I will say is there's obviously, it's a new thing. And the first people to generally take advantage of things like that in their infancy are scammers and scum and lowbrow people. And I feel like because of that, because of this NFT thing, which is like the only applicable use of crypto that had really actually become like interesting to anyone outside of the people that like live on their Tor browser. So at the end of the day, here's what I will say about it. The people who threw an absolute fit on Twitter at the like Ruby committee for making that a Rails comp talk to the point where they literally rescinded it. It was number one, disappointing to see who it was coming from. Just you're taking this to like a different place, dude. You're like, oh, well, it's grifters and they're ruining the economy and they're ruining the environment. And I'm just like, that's all crypto. They said Web3 specifically, which is emerging technology, whether you want to bitch about it and think it's not happening, it is. So it's fine to be like, yeah, there's obviously issues in the community, in that community right now. And wouldn't Ruby people getting to build their stuff on it make it better? I don't know. I just was very disappointed to see the reaction, not because I necessarily disagreed or like cared that it wasn't going to be a track, because I really don't care. I just was like, these adults are acting like children. And when I, a child, see that, I'm like, what are you doing? You literally look like an ass. And you're yelling at volunteers. So kudos to you. I'm going to get canceled for that, aren't I? I don't care. I'm sticking behind it.
You do you. One of these tweets says hibachi.
We could talk about hibachi if you want to.
Is that a thing I don't know about that you love?
No, but of course I love hibachi. But the real question that I have for you, well, yeah, exactly. So what is your protein?
Okay, so this is a really bad time to ask me this because we recently stopped eating meat. I would have previously gotten filet. My favorite combo is actually, well, my favorite combos are either filet and lobster or like a filet and chicken. Basically filet and anything I'm good with. I like the combos.
All right, so we have been to very different hibachi restaurants because the ones I've been to do not serve filet or lobster. So now I'm really hungry. That's awesome.
You're the one who really wanted to dish into this.
I thought you were going to say steak or chicken, but now, like, I know that you got filet and lobster. Like, oh, you know how I feel about lobster, dude. Fiend for it.
Like I have Rocky Mountain lobster.
Rocky Mountain. Yeah. I like shrimp in my hibachi or steak if they don't have shrimp, but no chicken. Sorry. But I want hibachi now. Thank you to whoever sent that in.
Morgan.
Oh, shout out Morgan.
And then the last tweet I see to discuss that's not Laravel related would be thoughts on transpilerless would be cool.
Like, what do you mean? Transpilerless what? Ruby doesn't get transpiled, right? No. It's dynamic language. Wait, is it? I don't know. I went to computer science school, everyone. Thank you. Transcompilation maybe is what they meant?
Maybe.
Right, no more transpiling or like, that must be what it means.
It would make sense because that's kind of also the big movement recently.
Right. I think that a lot of companies have no idea that they cannot take advantage of it. Whether that's because they can't take advantage of HTTP2, which means you actually are probably going to take a major performance hit if you were to do this stuff, or it's that their assets are too old or whatever, but you still need to bundle sometimes, unfortunately. The reality is that like you can stick anything you want into the internet, apparently, and we have to figure out a way to handle that. And so at the end of the day, like transcompilation is not going anywhere. And at the end of the day, ESBuild is still turning your code inside out and tree shaking it and stuff. So like it's still happening.
Import map.
Oh yeah. See, I don't know a lot about import maps because I'm like, why would I use an import map when I could just bundle all my crap together? The data lawsuits that are happening right now in the EU, like you really think you could start reaching for like CDNs and stuff now, especially if you're in the EU?
I've been using import maps on a side project to get out of my comfort zone. And it's been good, but the only thing I've written is a stimulus controller. I've mostly just been using like turbo frames for it.
I would actually be interested in seeing that one day.
And that was everything on our list, minus the one most important thing.
The Laravel. Sounds like y'all are going to get a really good Laravel episode next week or the next time we don't have a guest.
Yeah, let's look at that. I think we have someone next week. Oh, the week after we don't. So,
ooh, Laravel time. That
Laravel time.
Weeks. That means I'll have enough time to install PHP on my machine. Yeah.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye, Jason, my new coworker and best friend.
Do we have outro music?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. 8.
All right. Well, I guess this is the real start.
No. Hold on. Stop. We gotta go back. I'm not ready. Hold on. Run it back, Jason.
If I hit stop recording, it's
No,
gonna
you don't have to hit stop.
send both to Paul.
Put edit on the.
Are you
Sorry,
putting cologne
buddy.
on in Home Alone?
I don't own cologne. I'm a gross person. All right, let's continue.
All right, are we starting for real this time?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I feel like no matter how we start it, it should start with "I'm a gross person."